So for today's video, I'll be giving my top 10 must-have units list here in AnimeLastStand. Everyone will have a different opinion, but I feel like I picked a pretty solid top 10. But do feel free to let me know if you disagree with anything, and let's just get right into it. So I have a little honorable mention here before we get into the top 10 list, and that is the Godly Garo. Now this guy is a decent unit himself, but the real thing about him is his little godly leader skill. Yeah, that's what it's called. His leader skill is crazy. It is basically double DPS at like the start of a round, so it's pretty insane. But the unit itself is not the craziest, so for that reason I'm not gonna put him in this top 10, even though his leader skill is one of the better ones. So he's just gonna be an honorable mention here, and yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on him. Just want to let you guys know why he isn't in the top 10. And let's get into the actual list now. Okay, so number 10, we actually have Melleotis here. Now I was kind of thinking, should I add Asta or Melleotis, because they're kind of the same unit. They're that like cheap progressive dark unit that is just pretty insane both early game and late game. But my Melleotis, I feel like I have started to use a lot more. I have not finished the skill tree yet, so keep that in mind. He only has 10k kills, but he's just such a crazy unit, and he has like multiple mini nukes. So he also has this little bar here. If you want, he has really long passives. I'm not gonna do like a full-on showcase here. I just want to, you know, show the top 10. I'm not gonna go into a full depth showcase, but he basically has these different things he can apply. Very random what he applies. It is basically every time he reaches 5 on this bar, he's gonna do one of these random things, plus he's gonna do 5x damage, apply despair, and perform one of the 10 orders, which is one of these. So one of these randoms here, and basically just the other one is just some stat buffs, and then every 5 missed crits he inflicts black flames plus pressure. So if you're really unlucky with crits, I guess he's gonna make up for it, but you'll have to be really unlucky for that. And let's just upgrade it. As you can see, bro, he went like kind of crazy. I feel like I upgraded a little too fast there maybe. So at max he's doing almost 1 billion. If I got his skill tree done completely, he would probably be doing 1 billion. And he does have, oh, he does have a soul, but I'm pretty sure this one doesn't affect stats too much. It's more for dots. So yeah, 1 billion now, and with idle buff it's gonna be consistently 1 billion. So pretty insane unit, and he does cost like 1 million, which might seem expensive, but as you can see here, getting him into like 1 million damage is really not that expensive. It's only later on, like you get 500 million damage for only 200k cash, and then 400k cash for 6 million, 800 million for like 7k or 700k. Not the worst. And he does of course get these little nukes here. Deal 5x the chosen unit's current damage. Oh yeah, he picks the strongest unit in his range, and he does 5x of that unit's damage, and it has a 100% chance to crit. And this is basically the same thing but 15 times, and it'll keep ramping up to 55 times damage. So just some mini nukes, not insane nukes, but mini nukes. He is more of a progressive unit, but I feel like progressive is also a really big part of this game. So pretty good unit in my opinion, and that's basically why he's at number 10. So let's get right into number 9. Okay, so next we kind of just have a light version of Melleotis, but I will also say Yuta is a good bit better overall, because he does have this little summon here that applies both despair and better fear on placement. And I know it just says fear, but I am pretty sure in here it does say better fear somewhere. Okay, I don't see the passive. I do see some better fear here, but I'm pretty sure she like applies better fear, and then the ability makes it permanent on the enemies it hits. So she should be applying better fear and despair, I think, or maybe it's just normal fear. I'm pretty sure it's better fear though. But yeah, let's get into, actually let's get the little Rika here first. So Rika is kind of a side unit here, not the, actually pretty good stats, I'm not gonna lie. She almost has just as much damage as Yuta, and she of course does have the despair and a bunch of these little passives here that just makes her damage kind of crazy. So let's upgrade here. She doesn't have too many upgrades, so late game this is not going to be too insane. Despair is still really good, and she is line, so she's going to cover a lot with her despair if you place it right. If you place her like a little further back and put her on last, she's going to apply a lot of despair. And this is just one of those that just, if Cursed Child gets stunned, Rika takes the stun instead, and then some buffs, and then every is what every every 20 seconds, because it's 3 times speed. So every 20 seconds they apply some random stuff. It's kind of just like Melleotis. A lot of units just apply a random thing every certain amount of time. So that is Rika, and let's move on to Yuta here, who actually does pretty decent starter damage. It's a little slow here, I'm not gonna lie. 80k though for this damage is not terrible, and he goes up a lot now. He does get weakened here, his first ability as well at upgrade 11, and let's just max him before we take a look at the abilities. So his damage with Rika is pretty good. You do gotta think of both weakened, despair, better fear, whatever, and then there's this ability that is kind of just like Melleotis, where he does 15 times current child's damage and apply bolt off of that multiplier. So basically just the same. And Rika must have 100 cursed energy, and this one is just a little self buff. It looks like, yeah, just a self buff, so nothing too crazy. I am pretty sure you can unlock another ability if you use this one, or is it this one? One of them should give him another ability. I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe it's this one. No, he lost that ability now. Okay, I don't know what's going on now, but yeah, you get it. It's basically just Melleotis but light and stronger, so pretty good unit. Let's just move on to number 8. All right, so Zuken here is my number 8, and he did get reworked recently, and some people say he got like a lot better. I've seen some people not too happy about it. His damage still looks like around the same, but he has a really different system. So his nukes is nowhere near as powerful as before, I believe, because now his power wows, I think you pronounce it that way, works differently. It's basically just some self buffs to himself. Before, it was a nuke that got stronger with every power wow. That's just how I'm gonna pronounce it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but yeah, it basically just buffs himself. So every 60 seconds, which is basically every 20 seconds, as you can see here, he can upgrade to a second, third, fourth power wow. Right now he's on the second, and in 10 seconds he's gonna do it again. Maybe he's gonna go up to the next one, maybe not. And then he does have this red thing, which is basically just like a constant mini nuke, where he does 5 times damage and he applies a bunch of stuff off of it, and one of them being extinguished on 3 enemies, which is a pretty good debuff. So he's pretty good. I think his overall DPS is definitely better, but his nukes are not as strong. So he does actually get like plasma around these upgrades, but then goes into dismantled after that. And you know, his damage doesn't look too crazy, but you gotta think about that mini nuke that's always going off. And because he is on power wow like 2 to 4, he keeps this weld/ ability. I'm pretty sure you need to be on one of those. Yeah, he went down to 1 to not disappeared, but that's basically a huge nuke. This one is 750 billion, and it applies, yeah, just damage, just a normal nuke. And this is like a smaller nuke, and it's double damage on it if you're on the 4th power wow. And that is like about it. So yeah, I think when he reaches the weld/, he does get an extra passive, but I can't read that right now, and it's not that important. I mean, of course it is kind of important, but yeah, we're not gonna go too in depth here again. Sukune, in my opinion, top 8, probably a top 4 godly maybe. He is pretty insane, and I think he's still used for some tournaments, even though his nukes got a pretty big nerf. But let's just get into the next one, number 7. So for our next unit, you might be a little surprised here, because this is from the newest update, or the latest update, you know, and it is Law. So I had this guy from all the way back in the first summer update, and I don't even have his skill tree, so you gotta keep that in mind. He's only level 59, and he has Overlord with this defense enchant. So the thing is, his damage is good. It's really good actually, but it's not really the main point of him. So he is a support that does drain damage. Now the last one that did that was Giorno, and Giorno was just always in meta until they reworked him. So this might be the new Giorno, maybe not to the same extent, but he is still pretty crazy. So he starts off with this little domain thing, where every 100 seconds he makes enemies walk back, and he makes them slow, and he does more damage to them. And every 8 attacks he applies bleed, blizzard. Okay, not bad, not bad. Every 5 consecutive hits on an enemy permanently slow them. Nice. And it drains HP, cap of 100 billion. So there is a cap, unlike Giorno had, which is understandable, but that does mean he can do a lot of damage to the high HP enemies. So I think he's still gonna be kind of crazy crazy because Drain is just so strong. It is so strong. But let's start upgrading him a little, get him to the next attack. He is a bigger circle, and he does, I mean, you got to keep the level, the trait in mind and stuff. So he's not gonna do crazy damage. And he gets the room ability, which is kind of crazy. It makes all enemies go back to spawn. It drains 15% of their HP, cap of 1 trillion. 1 trillion is kind of crazy. Like, imagine this ability doing 1 trillion every time you send someone back. That is really, really not bad at all. Enemies slowed by 50% for 30 seconds, also really, really good. 50%, yeah, is really, really strong. I'm pretty sure that's stronger than like the inner circle of Gojo's infinity. Enemies can only be hit by this ability 2 times though, so there is a limit to how much you can do it, or else it might have been infinite, which of course should not be the case. So 2 times, and I'm pretty sure he hits like over 1 billion damage with the right trait and actually leveled up. So he has like pretty insane DPS, plus he does drain, plus he has some insane abilities. So this guy might actually stay meta for a really long time just because of the drain he has. Like, even when his DPS is outdated, his drain is still gonna be there, so it's still gonna be pretty decent, and he's gonna have this really, really strong support ability. So I feel like it's not as strong as Gojo's support, but it's still really, really strong, and I feel like I had to put him on this. But let's get into the top 5 now. Alright, so on the next on our list is kind of a weird unit because he is a support again, but he is one of the most broken supports for the long game modes. So this guy is still used in almost every tournament, I believe. I don't know, I haven't done tournament in a while, but this guy is just kind of crazy. Like, he is still at the top of the tier list, in the official tier list by the wiki people. He is still one of the highest ones in the infinite category because he is just crazy. I even got this guy glitched and glorious. I heard efficiency is actually not bad on him, but I don't really want to spin off glorious. So he basically has clones that he makes of himself. He just has some stuff that basically buffs himself, gives him more damage, makes the enemies take more damage over time, but it only works for him in his passives. So he has clones, but the clones only do 10% of his damage, and he can spawn 5 of them. But he only really spawns clones when there isn't enemies getting spawn killed. Like, if they're getting spawn killed, he's not gonna have any clones up, but for something like tournaments, you're not gonna spawn kill the enemies, and he will have all his clones up. So he does weaken. His damage is alright, it's nothing too insane, but he does change from weakened to crippled here, which I am not really a big fan of because Wukong also does crippled, and I feel like Wukong is a must-have for nuke tunnies. But yeah, causes all enemies to walk backward for 40 seconds, and they take more damage. So this ability alone is kind of like, it's really good. It's really good. Not anything insane, but then later on you get this ability here. Reset cooldowns of all abilities currently on cooldown, and you send all enemies back to spawn. Now imagine doing this with Law. You basically send them back to spawn over and over again, and he deals more damage for the next 60 seconds. So this ability is really unique. The only other unit that has an ability like this is Poochie, and Poochie is not really used anymore. He was used just for that ability alone, but then Wang Ling came in and basically took that spot. So as you can see, his DPS is nothing too insane, and he has no effect right now. He does apply ramen though from one of his passives, which is alright, I guess. I don't really know. But the last ability is also insane. Like, he kills all enemies in range. Oh wait, they actually changed the race existence from when I last checked this out. Damn. Wait, did they buff it? It used to be only 30 enemies in range. Kill all enemies in range and stun this unit for 60 seconds. All enemies, once this ability is used, become unable to use any other of this unit's abilities for 150 seconds. Additionally, kills bosses in infinite. So this kills anyone in range. Dude, it used to be a max of 30. Why did they buff that ability? I feel like killing 30 enemies was already good enough. It was an insta kill for 30 enemies. I'm not sure why they felt the need to buff that, but that's actually kind of crazy. If you want to put this guy higher, I actually wouldn't blame you, but I think top 5 is still, even with that ability change, I feel like the people above him are just insane that they just have to be above him. So this is gonna be the top 5 unit, and let's move on to the 4th one. So for our top 5, we have Sid here, and yeah, Sid, he is kind of crazy. He is more of an infinite unit, but let's take a quick look at his passives. So he has a lot of passive. Holy, he has this overdrive mode where he gets buffs for 100 seconds, and he basically just seems to have a bunch of buffs for himself. Every attack has a higher chance to achieve overdrive mode and inflict better fear to all enemies in range, and they take more damage if they're in range. Okay, so basically just a lot of small buffs and in range stuff. So let's start upgrading him a little. He starts with 10 million, which is not bad, but he has a really expensive unit. We're just gonna upgrade him like slowly here. 43, 76 million, 22k to get him to that. Oh wait, 44k, I mean 223 billion. Let's get him to this new attack here, immense speed, where he turns into a lion. Okay, pretty decent damage. I mean, for the cost, it's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, he has a lot of upgrades. Holy, some of his upgrades are also really expensive here towards the end. 1.27 billion. Okay, god damn, these numbers look crazy, but he is still more of an infinite unit. He still does crazy damage though, but he doesn't have like any dots like that. I'm pretty sure there's some dot stuff in this, like the percentage dot he had from his own damage, but that's not really, I mean, it is damage over time, but yeah, you know what I mean. It's not really a dot thing here. So let's upgrade him to this, where he gets a new ability. He gets faulty atomic and mini atomic. Let's get him to that. Mini atomic. Upon activation, deal 1000 times damage, apply pressure to spare, gain 30% range and 10% damage. Just a decent nuke. No, not bad, not bad. Let's upgrade him to his max, where he gets final atomic, deal 2000 times damage. Damn, which is around like, I don't even know what that is, like 4 trillion or something, I'm not sure. And he just buffs himself. He time stops as well. Ooh, that's pretty good. But yeah, he is really expensive, like 2.8 million to get him to this. He is definitely an infinite unit, but you don't have to max him. You can also use him for other stuff. So great unit, full AoE as well with huge range. But I mean, I feel like everyone has good range in this game. So let's move on to number 4. All right, so for 4th spot, we have Ichigo. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I low-key forgot about his trait because I was spinning for a glitch on this guy and I got nothing, and I kind of just forgot about him. So this showcase is not, I'm just gonna get this over with fast. Ichigo is a great unit in my opinion. He is the top 2 light godly. I do not think Luffy has more use than him. Maybe for infinite you can argue that Luffy is better, but for overall use I believe Ichigo is still better than Luffy. And of course Gilgamesh is the best light godly. So Ichigo is gonna be in the number 4 spot for me, and he is just crazy. Like his DPS in the start of any game is crazy. He has so many passives, it's crazy. I don't even want to go over all of them, but he basically just buffs himself and unlocks different like things that gives him more damage. This mastery here gives him more, and he has an ability where he can buff his own damage based on his mastery count. So if we do that, it's gonna buff his damage, and you have this on placement. So imagine like a good trade on him, that would be insane. I also don't have full skill tree on him, but this guy is crazy. Let's just upgrade him. His damage is gonna be so mid because I have, what is it called, scoped 1 on him. And yeah, 82 million, that's terrible. And knowledge, yeah, I really need a better trait. But yeah, I'm gonna keep this one really short. So this guy is number 4. He's not even the best light godly, still insane unit and better than Luffy. Let's see his damage here. Yeah, his damage is still looking good with the buff here. 100 million, you know, without a good trait. That is still kind of crazy. But let's move on to number 3. So number 3, we have Genji. Now you could argue this guy is number 2, but in my opinion, this guy is number 3 for me. He has this passive where he applies fear to everyone in range. He has this cycle in attacks that makes him gain rupture permanently, and rupture is a really strong dot, like really strong. So that is really good. And then he has eat a random unit in range. Upon eating a unit, Genji gains 25% damage. Okay, and then he also has the drain thing where he does some percentage damage, which is really good, of course. And he has some stuff where he buffs himself. So let's start upgrading him a little. Now there is a thing about this godly. There's one of the few godlies that doesn't have an ability at all. No ability. He is just raw dot DPS. I was about to say raw DPS, but he's basically like a dot monster. He just does a bunch of dot. He's full AoE. I don't have his full skill tree yet, but he is, his leader skill is kind of mid, I'm not gonna lie, but he is pretty crazy. No nuke, no nothing, just a bunch of DPS. If he had a nuke, maybe you could put him in number 2, but I'm gonna put this guy in 3rd, and yeah, I mean, pretty simple passives. I mean, it doesn't look simple, but there's like, once you simplify them, it's really not that crazy. Just a bunch of buffs, he gets different dots here and there, and he just cycles between stuff. So yeah, pretty crazy unit, and I only have 2 units above this guy because he is insane. And yeah, let's just get into number 2. I'm gonna keep this one really short. So I feel like this is the only right thing to do. Gojo in the number 2 spot. This guy has just been on my team ever since he got his extreme boost. Like he's on every single team I make. This guy is just crazy. His infinity is so strong. He does 13 million on placement, which is even now still pretty good because he has this black sparks that makes him do even more damage on top of his crit. And he just slows so much. He's just gonna be always meta because of his slow. It's just too good. And yeah, I mean, they'll probably keep buffing him as well. He keeps getting like buffed and boosted and stuff. So I wouldn't surprise me if he just gets in even more stuff. And he gets full AoE quickly. 100 million for 20k cash. 100 million full AoE with a time stop. This guy's insane for progressive. Probably one of the best, if not the best. Maybe number 1 is better, but yeah, this guy is just crazy, and he does lose the full AoE here, which is a little sad, but his line is still so long. Like on some maps it goes crazy, especially on that Kaido map where you can like set him on the first corner, make him hit the spawn. It's crazy. And he does 748 million every 8 seconds, which might not seem that insane, but because of his black sparks and the crit on top of it, it is so good. And he does more damage to units that are within the 24% range, so that is a bonus as well. And he of course has the nuke where he just does a bunch of damage. He does nerf the units on the map, but it's still worth it. I mean, it's a really strong nuke, not as strong as some of the newer nukes, but it's still not bad. This guy is just a must-have. I mean, he is the best support in the game by far, and I think he'll just stay meta forever, to be honest. He just has insane DPS, good nukes, good support, everything. He has everything you want, and he barely has 70 passives, to be honest, but he's just crazy. This guy is insane. And let's move on to number 1. So for number 1, I feel like this one was pretty obvious. It's obviously Gilgamesh. He is the best unit in the game, and I feel like most people will agree with that. He has this passive where every 5 attacks he'll hit these random things here. One of these random 5, and then every 5 attacks he does like 5x damage and stuff. It's just crazy. This passive here is really good. And he has the King of Heroes passive where he gets more damage per wave, and he does more damage to dark enemies. And then we also have Enkidu, who is basically a second unit. Enkidu is not even that bad. Where they have this, I'm pretty sure they nerfed Enkidu like 2 updates ago, but they're still crazy. They're so good for bosses. They make them walk back, they stun them. And then there's also some like buffs to some elements. Don't really care too much about that second passive. It's more the stun and walk back passive on bosses. Let's start with Enkidu actually. So Enkidu has the random passive as well, and they have pretty decent DPS. I'm not gonna lie, it's really not bad. And they have this passive, wait, not passive, this ability here where they can recover stocks, and they will buff both Gilgamesh and their own damage for a certain amount of time, which is really good. The buff is so good as like a boss killer when you are starting to struggle. And then there's Gilgamesh, who gets this bar at some point. I think it's this one. Yeah, this bar. He's already doing 1 billion. 1 billion plus a dot every attack, basically, because it's one of these randoms. And yeah, when this bar reaches 100, it should come up with a mini nuke that he can do. And then at max, he gets a big nuke. This is a huge nuke. Yeah, this is the mini nuke that just does a good amount of damage. It does a bunch of stuff, but it's just a mini nuke. And then there's the big nuke that time stops. It does percentage damage. Like if you are below 35% HP, it just instantly kills you, and is 10,000 times his damage, and he has 1 billion damage. That is insane. This nuke is just crazy, and I did say this was a mini nuke, but compared to other units, this is a pretty normal nuke. So he basically has 2 nukes. Now you do want this boy to reach 300 before you use the normal nuke, and yeah, these two together, like Enkidu keeps stunning the bosses, she can buff them if we use it here. Almost 2 billion damage. Insane. Plus he does all these different things. I'm pretty sure if I use some, yeah, this nuke 2 billion almost, and I don't think this one buffs him. Yeah, it doesn't, but he can almost reach 2 billion. I have used this guy for basically everything. He's on every team I used. Him and Gojo are on every single team. So really OP units, and this guy I feel like has to be number 1 even after he got nerfed a little. So that is my top 10. Let me know what you guys think of this top 10, if there's anything you would change. I am free to listen to y'all's opinions, so leave them down below, and thank you guys for watching.